Hello, I am going to be reviewing The Last Jedi novel today. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about the movie because I feel like it was very polarizing on like every single side of the aisle imaginable. I've got to do something with my hair because I keep touching it. This is attractive. So basically, Last Jedi was a very polarizing movie. Like, a lot of people, you either hated it or you really liked it, and not a lot of people had any middle ground on that. I really enjoyed Last Jedi. I'm one of those people who really liked it. I really love what Rian Johnson's trying to do with the story. I just think the imagery was amazing. The repeated motifs were amazing. The storytelling was really good and unexpected, and it wasn't the same rehashed, the bad guys built a giant space station and we have to blow it up plotline that we've seen in the prequels and in Star Wars and in freaking Return of the Jedi. Like, it was more like an Empire Strikes Back movie. You had the same images repeated, instead of being on Hoth, they're on Crate. Instead of there being a big fight in the snow with the speeders and Imperial walkers, it's a fight in the salt with the salt speeders and the walkers. And you have things revealed about our protagonist that is like a big shock or like whatever. In Empire Strikes Back, we find out that Luke is, Darth Vader's kid. In The Last Jedi, we find out that Rey's parents abandoned her effectively and left her and sold her off for drinking money and are dead and are never coming back. There was a lot of parallels to Empire. Rey travels to a planet to go learn from an old Jedi Master. Luke travels to a planet to go learn from a Jedi Master. It's very obviously supposed to echo Empire, which honestly, it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies, so maybe that's why I liked it so much. I definitely wanted to talk about the symbolism in The Last Jedi. They really used color and light in an amazing way. I thought you had a lot of dark on light and yin-yang symbolism. You had, Rey representing the light, Kylo Ren representing the dark. That one shot in the elevator where I thought it was brilliantly framed. She's standing with a light background, he's standing with a dark background, but they're both facing each other and talking. I'm pretty sure I remember that being like a piece of concept art that was used for Revenge of the Sith, where it was Padme and Anakin, and he's like reaching out of the dark to her, and she's like covered in light. They had a really, really incredible yonic and phallic imagery. And that's not to sit here and be like, oh, it's all about sex, but everything's about sex. The yonic imagery and the phallic imagery, with the cave and the tree both being on the same island. The tree is obviously like a phallic symbol. The cave is the yonic symbol, even more so when you talk about yin-yang. When yin, represents the female, the dark, the cold, the left, the negative, and then the yang with the male, the light, the positive, the whatever. But here we've got yonic imagery being the cave on the island. It's dark in the cave on the island. It's wet in the cave on the island. There's moss all around it. She's sucked right in, and it's dark, and she sees something she shouldn't expect to see. It's like a negative force. It's the dark side of the force under the island. It's a big nexus of dark side energy. In the phallic imagery, you have the tree. The tree is penis. It's a light side of the island. It's white. It's a white tree. It's got knowledge inside. It has light inside. It's a refuge from like the storm outside, which is very dark and gray. And what's even more interesting is usually the female is associated with the dark when you're doing yin-yang imagery. The male is associated with the light. But in this instance, in The Last Jedi, the trope is flipped, and Kylo Ren is the female force. He's on the dark side. Rey is the male force on the light side, which is kind of an interesting flip. And you can also see in the way that they dress. Rey is usually in lighter colors. Kylo Ren is in black because he's the emo lord of all. And was Rey's color palette in the way she dresses shifting from very light sandy tan colors, white, on Jakku, to like a gray and brown and darker gray color palette, which kind of is interesting to see how that's going to evolve into episode 9. Oh, and speaking of the yin-yang imagery, Rose and Paige's necklace. I also want to talk about the book. So, Jason Fry killed it. I adored it. It was a really good book. You get so much more about Rose and Paige Tycho's backstory. Finn has given a lot more exposition growth than I feel he was in the movie, and they explain a lot more about these scenes on Canto Bight, which admittedly was one of the weakest points in the movie. But they give it a lot more exposition and talk about why Rose was like so upset and how Finn feels about it and like all this other stuff. Rose's character is amazing in this book, and I don't know why they didn't add like half of the stuff into the movie, because I see a lot of people complaining about, oh, Rose is the next Jar Jar because she's so annoying. I thought Rose was fine in the movie. She was a freaking engineer who just lost her sister, and then some jackass is getting into the escape pod. In this book, like, you have scenes like when Rose and Finn are going to be killed by the First Order, she literally like bites Hux on the hand because he reaches out to like tap her chin or something stupid, and he's just like, oh, my hand, I'm gonna have to go get a rabies shot, and then he like jumps out, he disappears off the freaking bridge to go get a band-aid, and that's how he ended up not dying when Holdo completely like light speeded right through the freaking supremacy. And there's also a lot of really funny back and forth banter. Rose is like giving Finn crap about Rey, and she's like, oh, you must really like this girl, you know, because she's the kind of person that's gonna like make you drop everything and go like be a traitor, and he was like, I'm not a traitor. Yeah, so there's a lot of banter that I thought was, you could have put in the movie and it would have been really funny. And there's also there's a line in there where she's like, oh, is Rose gonna, is Rey gonna come back with her head all shaved with a rat tail? And Finn's like, no. And it's so fun. And it gave a lot of exposition into like the background of like how ordinary people think about the Jedi, how ordinary people think, you know, about the rebellion, like all this stuff going on. And I also really, they went into a lot about like how Rey and Kylo Ren feel about each other, and not to be like a shippy person, they did so much like exposition on like Rey looking into Kylo Ren and looking into his feelings and his emotions, and like realizing that he has a lot of conflict in himself about her personally, and about, you know, everything else in his life, but like a lot about her, and how, you know, he's like in the Force, he's just coming through as like this huge conflicted, boiling over like thundercloud. And oh, there was a really sad part in there about how he doesn't fire on his mom because he realizes that she's feeling sorry for him, and he doesn't fire, and then the other TIE fighters do in that initial attack on the Raddus, and he sees it blow up, and he's so shocked that he thinks to himself, I could have stopped the missile. Like, he has the ability to actually like stop a freaking missile, which I thought was like insane. It's like, oh, it's the same thing we saw in Force Awakens, only better. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, there was a lot of really good, you know, background talking about the Republic, how it's been pretty much decimated because they blew the crap out of, you know, Hosnian Prime. The only thing that I didn't like about Last Jedi, and this is just me, I really like politics. I like the politics of Star Wars. Can't believe I'm going to say this. I really like the prequels because of the politics and the political intrigue and the whole thing with, you know, the whole reason that the Naboo get, you know, sucked into this war, and the Trade Federation, like, boycott, and the, you know, the whole thing with the Separatists. Like, it's gone over tangentially because at its heart, you know, Star Wars is a story about the Jedi and about the Skywalkers. But I felt like Padme Amidala was such a fantastic character, and you could have done so much more with her if you hadn't deleted those friggin' scenes from Revenge of the Sith where she was helping form the frickin' rebellion and like being friends with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma and all these people who later go on to fight in the rebellion. And I really like Bloodline Intrigue. I picked up Bloodline by Claudia Gray, and I was like, oh my god, politics, yes. Like, maybe I'm just friggin' weird. I don't know. What do you guys think about the politics of Star Wars? I like politics. I'm a weird person. Those are my thoughts about The Last Jedi and Star Wars in general. So leave a comment, like, subscribe for more of my fun videos. These aren't fun. These are the worst things ever.